Today we're going to compare these two lenses, the Samyang 35mm f1.8 and the Sigma 35mm f2 Contemporary. Everyone should have a 35mm, and these lenses for the E-mount system are relatively fast, budget-friendly, and inconspicuous, perfect for espionage.
Wow!
I'll be going over build, autofocus, sharpness, bokeh, CA, and more chapters in the description. Let's get right into it with build and handling. Starting off at the bottom, both have this weather sealing gasket. However, the Samyang is documented to have full weather sealing. The Sigma does not make this claim. They both have this switch. Samyang uses it for multifunction. You can control aperture or you control the focus. However, in use it's slightly confusing. I don't recall the exact reason because I don't use it this way anymore. I just use the manual focus switch. However, when you're in manual focus mode, I believe the aperture doesn't work. You can't just swing in and change it. Moving on, the minimal focus distance of the Samyang is 0.29 meters, while the Sigma is 0.27. It's a small difference, however, you can notice it. Keep in mind, neither one of these can close focus, so any little bit helps. They have different style types of hoods. The Samyang has a pedal style, you can't stand it. However, the Sigma, look at that, it stands firmly in place and you're not going to tip it over. It's a little minor convenience. When it comes to the feel of these lenses, the Samyang is a lightweight plastic housing, however it doesn't really have any flex and it's solid enough that you can feel that there is glass in it. However, when it comes to the Sigma, you're talking about a small little tank. It is solid steel. This thing is machined from high-grade aluminum and it feels like the Rolex that I've never used, own, or can afford. Even though Sigma has a clicked aperture wheel, the overall build and feel is on another level. Winner in this category. It is time for our autofocus test. For the most part, both lenses focus well. However, one tends to pulse more than the other, and that is the Sigma. As you can see here, the Samyang is just a little bit more smoother. It doesn't do this little focus rack, while the Sigma does in this type of scenario. In low light, both lenses can do this. However, it's generally pretty good. Both lenses do focus in very low light. This is using the A7 Mark IV, and that camera is known to have a -3 EV. When it comes to straight focusing continuously, I could not see a problem with either one of these lenses. You're going to have a great time. However, if I had to pick a winner, it would be the Samyang by a slight amount. Just to be clear, I didn't experience much of this focus racking issue with the Sigma outside of these tests. For the pixel peepers and for those younger than me with good vision, I envy you. Sharpness. Before starting, I want to point out that the Sigma is noticeably wider than the Samyang, so if you want a little bit more reach, you can get the Samyang. If you want a little bit wider, you can get the Sigma. Starting off wide open, here it is, f1.8 versus f2 in the center. They are very comparable. At the mid frame, again, very comparable. This is when it changes a little bit, and I think the Sigma is just a little bit sharper at the far edges. And a similar story at the far corners. It's kind of hard to tell, so it's not a very big difference. There's just a slight amount of haze. Now we are stopped down equal aperture f2, and they are fairly similar. There's still a little bit of haze, I think, with the Samyang. And if you look at these leaves, the Sigma is just a little bit cleaner. Back to the mid frame, there's hardly any noticeable difference. I can't notice it. And back to the center, which they are the same. We continue on at f2.8 in the center, mostly the same. Once you go to the mid frame, I think the Samyang is a little bit sharper. At the far edges, Samyang, Sigma, I think, yeah, Samyang is a little bit sharper at this point. In the far corners, yeah, it's tough to tell. This one for the Sigma does seem a little bit more hazy. At f4, the Samyang looks a little bit better to my eyes. Here is the far edges where they look fairly comparable. The mid frame, and once again, fairly comparable. It's hard to tell. And back to the center, I think the Samyang is doing a little bit better. That little extra magnification seems to make a small difference. In the center, f5.6, they are fairly close. It's very hard to tell the difference. Mid frame, again, mostly the same. Far edges, yeah, I mean, both of them have improved with the leaf details. Far corners, I do not see a discernible difference. At f8, there is negligible difference between the two. When it comes to far edges, I think the Samyang is a little bit clearer. Mid frame, no discernible difference. Back to the center, they are essentially the same. So I'm gonna call this a draw where they're mostly the same. There's a minor differences here and there. Like my youth, everything is a blur. Bokeh. Starting off with half body, it looks great on both lenses, and here's the reveal of which is which. However, once you get into the clips a little bit more, you see that the Samyang is a little bit more structured looking, while the Sigma is smoother. This is hard to deny, and overall it's just a little bit cleaner. Next up, we are going to do a full body look. Here it is. And now if you pay attention, the same goes with the Sigma and Samyang. The Sigma is just a little bit cleaner. What can I say? It has a little bit more smoothness. However, if I didn't tell you which was which, or you're looking at it blindly, you know, these lenses are fairly close. Slight edge goes to the Sigma, winner in this category. Now for the imperfections, chromatic aberration and LoCA. When it comes to LoCA, if you look at it really close, you can see that there's green in the bokeh on both of them and a tiny hint of purple on both of them. I wouldn't say it's a big issue on either one. I wouldn't be concerned about it. They're fairly comparable. When it comes to CA, if we're gonna look at the center, there is virtually none. Even as we go towards the edges, the CA, there is a hint of purpling on both of them. However, they are fairly comparable. I'm gonna say it's a draw in this category. How do these lenses react to bright light sources? Flare and Sunstars. Both lenses are wide open. However, one of them has better control directly in the center, and that is the Sigma. It controls it much better in the center. When it comes to the edges, they are fairly comparable. There's not too much difference between them. Slightly more artifact with the Samyang, but otherwise very similar. I wouldn't say the Samyang is bad. It has a certain characteristic, a little sassiness, kind of like coming out of a $5 barbershop. At f16, both have clear Sunstars. However, I would like it more if they were a little bit narrower, if the sun rays were more defined. Other than that, the Sigma has a clear advantage when there's flaring and the Sunstars. And the Samyang, yeah, it can get a little messy. So winner in this category is the Sigma. How do these lenses react to different shooting distances? Focus breathing. Pay attention to the red line as a reference point. Both lenses have a good amount of breathing. If you go in and out of the frame, you will notice this factor. If you're close focusing, you'll notice that both lenses tend to enlarge once you're closer. So that's something to keep in mind, that you will lose some focal length because of this. It's not going to be one static type of shot. So it's going to be a tie in this category. We're going to talk about it, the size. The Sigma comes in at 315 grams, the Samyang at 200 flat. That's 115 grams more. The Samyang feels like toyish almost. It is quite noticeable. Well, the Sigma comes in 50% heavier. Yes, it does matter, especially when you're carrying multiple lenses. Size-wise, they are essentially the same. They both use 58mm filter threads, and the width is roughly the same. The Sigma is just a tiny bit thicker because of the metal ribbing. The Sigma is slightly longer by 1 or 2 millimeters. It's a very small amount. The Sigma's ultra high build quality comes at a cost, and it's the weight. Winner in this category is the Samyang. We're going to talk about value, and this is a subjective matter. The Sigma comes in at $639 retail, while the Samyang comes at $399 retail, and it comes in the Rokinon flavor. So if you can't get one for a lower price, you can always try the other. On one hand, you have a finely crafted piece of art, pure engineering bliss. On the other, you have the plastic fantastic. It is fully complete because it's weather sealed. It has extra functions with the wheel. It has good optics. It's the works, and it's only $399. That is a significant difference in price, and the Samyang can get the job done. It does deliver on the optics, and it works just fine. Winner in this category is the Samyang. Final thoughts. These are two good lenses for slightly different people. If you're looking for a high quality feel, if you're looking for the top image quality and flare resistance and just uber goodness, of course the Sigma is the better one in this scenario. However, that doesn't really discount the Samyang. The Samyang is a solid lens. It's a little bit older, that's why it's not quite as good as the 24, for instance. However, it's still a solid pick. You can't go wrong either way. With the Samyang, you've got the plastic fantastic, and it is weather sealed from top to bottom. The optics are good, nice and clear. Just the flaring and the build quality isn't the best. It can use some improvement. The plastics, I think most people can live with it. I'm okay with it even in humans. Everyone is different. You may use the Samyang as a travel companion to a bigger f1.4 lens, or you can use the Sigma for everything, or you can use a Sigma and then have another f1.4 lens. You can't really make a bad choice here. If you guys like this video, be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons, and it helps out if you guys use the affiliate links. This channel is small and it's growing. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Take care.